we thought that we were going to be moving to Texas. And when we saw the letter saying, you are moving to Germany, we were like, what? I live in a really small village and we're the only Americans here. So I've just accepted that we're kind of like the town's entertainment in a way. In the US, there's not as big of a regulation on food and everything. And we're way bigger on the GMOs and the chemicals and everything. And so all the food here has been way better, especially the bread.
Good evening, Peyton, and thank you for accepting my invitation.
Yeah, good evening.
For whomever clicked this episode, I would say good evening, good afternoon, or good morning, whenever you have clicked it. Today I have the pleasure to talk to Peyton. I have maybe I want to say just a few words, Peyton, before we start. I have get in contact with you. I found your content that you are creating on the social media, and as an expat myself, I think I'm in the rabbit hole of expats on my social media accounts, and I drop you an email, and I have to say the communication went really easy, and you accepted the invite, which makes me really happy. Peyton is originally from US, at the moment living in Germany. Peyton, maybe if you want to say a few words about yourself, where exactly from US, if I may ask you?
Yeah, of course. So I am originally from the state called Georgia. I feel like when I tell people that here, they think of the country. Um, but I am from Georgia, and we moved to Germany about a year and a half ago because of my husband's job. He is military, so we'll be living in Germany for the next 2 years, if not longer. We'll see, but yeah, we've been loving it so far.
That's amazing. So when you say this with Georgia is happening really often?
Yeah, if they don't know that I'm American, they think it's the country, and then if I say Georgia, a lot of times they'll be like, I don't know which state that is. So it's
The one with Atlanta, people. The one with Atlanta. It's so easy. It's one of the big
Mhm,
ones.
mhm.
So Peyton, tell me a bit about your upbringing. Are you originally from Georgia? You grew up there?
Yeah, so I was born in Georgia, but I did move around a little bit growing up. I lived in Minnesota for a little while and Alabama. But I would say predominantly in my childhood growing up, I was in Georgia. I did my college there, my undergrad there, and then when I got my graduate degree, I did that online at the University of Florida. So I'd say most of my life spent in Georgia.
Southern part. I like it. I love it. Been a big fanboy of US, and especially of the southern part, because I love the kindness of the people there. It's something that you don't find anywhere else.
We are pretty kind there.
um, the Peyton, have you ever thought growing up that you will leave the US?
So I would say I always had like an urge to travel, and I got a little taste of that when I was in undergrad. I was fortunate enough I got some scholarships, so I was able to study abroad twice when I was in undergrad. I studied abroad in South Africa for a month, and then I was able to go to England and stay there for a whole semester. So it gave me a taste, and then after that, I was trying to be like an au pair or something and trying to figure out how to move abroad. But then I met my husband, and one thing led to another, and now we're here in Germany.
I'm pretty sure that your husband's family was kind of expecting a period abroad. But what did your family said when you told them, Mom, Dad, I'm going a bit far away?
They were excited. They they know me. I like to move away from home all the time, so they expected it from me. And they were just really excited, and they were like, "Yay, we have a reason to go visit a new country."
Absolutely. And that's the perfect way to see it, right? That's the
Yes.
perfect way to see it. Um, Peyton, and you, I would guess you didn't went to the through the bureaucracy of getting to apply for a visa and everything, because everything was done by the military for you. So you
Yeah.
didn't had the pre-steps. So you had that one-way ticket where you knew now is the time when it's happening. How was that happening? How was the feeling for you?
Of just, like, the whole process and coming here and everything.
No, actually, the moment when you say, okay, this is the one-way ticket, and we go there, and we'll be there for a while now.
Oh, so when we found out, that's actually kind of how I went viral on TikTok. I posted a reaction video to my husband receiving his orders, not thinking anything of it, and we were not expecting it because he had originally interviewed for a job in Germany and they told him no, it wasn't happening. So we thought that we were going to be moving to Texas. And when we saw the letter saying, "You are moving to Germany," we were like, "What?" Because we had already made plans to start finding a house in Texas and everything. And whenever we saw that, I was shocked. I was excited, nervous. I was like, wait, this is actually happening. We're actually moving abroad. So there was a ton of emotions because we were kind of, I don't want to say blindsided, but we were a little blindsided because they had told us no originally. But
Hmm.
yeah.
And usually, how much time you get from the moment in which you get the information and the moment when you actually get to fly?
So for us, it can be a little different for everybody. He started interviewing for different positions all around the US, Italy, Germany, everything like that. Um, I would say April of 2024. Um, I think I have that right. And then he got the email, I would say July of 2024, June,
Oh,
July.
that's fast.
Yeah, so that's when we found out, and then we didn't officially move here until the very end of December 2024.
Hmm.
Mhm.
So you have kind of a time to get used to the idea and to get your life settled there before you get going, right?
Yes. It
Um.
really goes in
Okay.
motion.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Peyton, you arrived. How was the landing? How was the landing experience in Germany?
Eh, there was a bit of, um when we first were coming here, we had a little bit of issues with bringing our dog over here and everything. We had some issues, but we got him on the plane. Everything was fine. Um, our flight path got changed a little bit, so that was stressful. But once we got here at like 8 in the morning on a Sunday or something. And luckily, we had people to pick us up from the airport and they took us to our hotel. They had already arranged that for us. So we were very fortunate that someone had already made arrangements. And when we got to our hotel, we're like, okay, we're going to stay up. We're going to beat this jet lag. We immediately showered and slept the whole day. Yeah.
So the first day in Germany, you took a nice rest.
Yes.
Um, how long was the hotel period, Peyton? How long it took until you find a permanent place to live in?
So for us, we came here at kind of a weird time. There's like certain seasons of the year that are really popular for people to move here and move away. So for us, it took a little over a month. After we got here, we toured probably 5 or 6, 7 different homes until we finally landed on the one that we have now. So I'd say, yeah, about a month.
What was the? I'm pretty sure you had 6 months to have an to build up an expectation about Germany. I'm pretty sure you investigate on YouTube. You watch a lot of videos about life and so on. And how is the expectation versus reality in your first months?
So the expectation, just from things I saw on TikTok and
Mm-hmm.
YouTube. everything. I had the expectation that all the homes were gonna be incredibly small, that, uh, some of the people were going to be mean or something like that, and, um, that it was just gonna be I heard a lot of good things and bad things. I did hear whenever we announced that we were coming here, we did get a lot of people being, "I'm so jealous. I miss being there. I was there in the '90s. I wish I could go back." So that made me feel really good about where we were going. And then when we got here, um, every single house we toured was ginormous. I guess it's because we're kind of more in the countryside, but there wasn't a single house we looked at where I was like, "Oh, this is small." This is the biggest house I've ever lived in. So,
That's a nice coincidence. That's a nice happening then.
yeah, and the people, they're nice, like, I haven't had anything mean. I know there was, like, this one thing where they're like, "Oh, they really stare at you," which, yeah, but it's fine, like but also where I live in a really small village, and we're the only Americans here, so I've just accepted that we're kind of like the town's entertainment in a way.
Peyton, I live in a small village as well in Germany, and I know exactly what you. We're not Americans so far away, but we speak English with our son, and that kind of stands out whenever you are meeting the neighbors. But I have to say, the staring is something which I got used to it quite easy as well. For me, it was confusing that every time when I was staring back, they were already saying hello, and I was not used to this. I don't know if you have this in the US, but this was a big confusion for me at the beginning because everybody was saying hello.
Yes. Um, where I'm from, a lot of people say hello and everything. Because like you said, in the South, we kind of have this like politeness, kindness. We never meet a stranger type ordeal.
I have to say, I'm going back now to the US because I was there in the South a few times. I was not so, of course, I was in Florida as well, but I was in North Carolina a long time, and I have to say that the welcoming in every coffee shop, in every store that I went, the welcoming, this warmth of the people, there was something which it's shocked me in a really positive way. I have to say. Uh,
That is something that, sorry, that
no, no, please.
yeah, that's something that I've had to get used to living here is I'm used to walking into a store or a coffee shop and like you said, they're like, "Hi, hello, welcome, how can I help you?" And then here you may or may not get a greeting or and sometimes I kind of prefer to be left alone when I'm shopping, so I kind of appreciate it. So,
Talking about interactions, Peyton, my favorite topic now. How about the language?
yeah, I have been trying. My husband is way better than me at picking up on languages, but we've been practicing the last year and a half. It is sometimes a little bit harder because where we're at, there's such a high concentration of Americans, so we can
Mm.
kind of get into this American bubble in a way. Um, but every time we see our neighbors or anything, we're always trying to have a conversation, and then when we're at the grocery store and stuff. So I know, like, some basics. I still can't hold a entire conversation with you, but I'm picking up more on different words when I hear people or I'm listening to people.
Do you have we haven't talked about the area where you are, but do you have a strong accent in German as well, or is just the normal German being spoken?
Um, I might also have, I forget that I have an accent until someone, like, points it out or anything. Yes, probably, yeah. There's some words I try to say, and I'm like, "Ooh, that doesn't sound right."
Because we had that a few times as well, and whenever uh, uh, someone who has never lived outside of their home country, that is not there's nothing thing. Hmm. Someone that has never lived in outside their home country is not able to understand this. But this this habit of saying hello, getting the small talk, like the natural thing that you do everywhere you can't do here. And at the first you have that feeling that I feel like I'm disabled, like I not disabled, I'm sorry, but I feel like I'm retarded or something, because it's you you cannot really start the connection with the people. But 10 years later it's coming slowly, so don't worry.
Mhm.
What was, in the first period, Peyton, the biggest shock that you have had as an American in German
Uh, I feel like there
in
was a few
Germany?
things because I had never been to Germany before. I've been to a few other places, but never here. I would say I was really shocked about a lot of places being closed on Sundays and, like, the quiet times. Because especially in the US, I feel like everyone does their errands on Sundays before the week starts, and cutting their grass and going to the grocery store, like, Sunday is really the big errand day, I feel like, in the US. So, coming here and pretty much everything being closed on Sunday and don't cut your grass or anything, and then I knew that smoking culture was a big thing in Europe, but actually living here and seeing it, I was like, "There's cigarette vending machines everywhere." Like, what do you mean? I had never seen that before. And then how you can buy the huge tubs of cigarettes at the grocery store, that was I thought it was funny, because you don't really have that kind of smoking culture in the US. Um and the cash how cash is a really big thing here too, that kinda shocked me as well.
Is there such a big difference between Germany and the US?
Um, well, it's kind of hard. I feel like I get that people ask me about the US, and because, the US is so big and so diverse and you have so many cultures and environments within the US, I would say where I'm from, yes, it is very different. Just with
Hmm.
the landscape and everything, to me, it's so much where I'm at is so much prettier. You have the rolling hills and the flowers. Um, so I would say from Georgia and a few places I've been, it's very different, but I can't speak for all of the US.
Going back to the cash topic, I just want to tell you that it got really much better during the Corona time, during the
Mhm,
COVID time. So before it was not even possible in a lot of places, not even to ask if you are allowed to pay with a card. So that was driven by, there was a joke in Germany back then, but what driven the digitalization of Germany? Corona. So that's somehow how they got through. But cash is still king in a lot of places in Germany. I think it's crazy, but it is like this. How
mhm.
was the food experience, Peyton? Did you get to experience the German food? Did you get to have a taste of a German food?
Yeah, pretty much right when we got here, we, had some German food, and then we're lucky enough we have some local bakeries around us, so we get the local bread and everything all the time, and then we did a little bit of Oktoberfest, so we got to experience, like, the bratwurst and everything, the schnitzels, and so, yeah. I like it, yeah, I'd say I like it.
So
Sometimes
I
it's a
like that.
little more bread than I want or, like, a little bit more I don't always wanna eat, like, a schnitzel or something, but
Do you see the difference in bread between the US and Germany? Like, do you see the difference in quality and taste, I would say?
oh, with, like, all the food, which this is something I'm very passionate about is, yeah, 'cause a lot of people know or maybe not know that in the US, there's not as big of a regulation on food and everything, and we're way bigger on the GMOs and the chemicals and everything, and so all the food here has been way better, especially the bread. Like, I'm if when we move back to the US, I'm gonna miss that.
I've seen in some of your in some of your content, in some of your shorts of YouTube on YouTube, on some of your videos, that you go often to Rive, and you said that one of the things that I notice in a lot of videos is this, you saying that you like this deposit experience, this fund experience, because it's not something that you have in the US. Don't you see? Do you see it um, as um, as something that is hard to do? Don't you see it as something that's hard to do because you have to take it home, then take it back, then get your money back for it? Or do you see it as a benefit generally for us?
The fawn system?
Yeah.
Oh, I love it. I wish it would I wish it was more of a thing in the US. I know there's some states, I think like California and Hawaii and stuff, where they kinda have those systems a little bit, but it's really not. Recycling in general is not really a huge thing in the US, at least in my opinion, compared to how it is here. But to me, it gives me more of an incentive to recycle. I'm not gonna throw money away, like, I'm gonna take it back to the grocery store, and it can sometimes be like a game because if you keep it for so long, you get so much money back, and I like it.
I have to say, this is one of the things that a lot of colleagues complain coming from the US in Germany to this, because I'm working in the corporation, which we have an office there in the US, and every once in a while people are coming here to visit, and they all say, I stay for 2 weeks here, 3 weeks here, I have a full bag of fund. What they bring it to the office and say, "There, take it." I said, "Man, you are just throwing away money." But okay, I mean,
I've gotten to the point where if I'm at a restaurant and I see my water bottle is fond, I take it with me. I'm like,
that's the spirit. That's
"Me."
the spirit.
Yeah.
That's the spirit. I was really shocked. I have to say, one of the things that negatively shocked me in the US was the breakfast situation in the hotels, where you have this single use plate, single use. I don't know, maybe I was at the cheap hotels, but also like 3, 4 stars, and you always have the same. Like you have this plastic or paper or cardboard plates, and this is something which is what gives you a bad feeling when you eat from them anyhow, and then you throw them away because that's the only thing that you can do.
Mhm.
Um, what about, are you driving, Peyton? Do you have a
Yes.
driving license? Okay. I need, I want to know about your driving experience in Germany. First thing first, how did you find out that in Germany, the take the right, if it's no red, is not allowed?
I My husband told me that immediately because he took his driver's test before me, and it still feels so unnatural to me. Like, "What do you mean I can't go?"
I had a colleague as well coming from US, and after 1 week and a half, I was with him in the car, and I was at the traffic light with him. I was on the right seat. Then he took her. I said, "Josh, what are you doing?" "Yeah, I'm going right." "No, no, 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 no. This is not US. No, no, no. It's a different." But I'm giving you my impression. So always driving on the highway in the US, you have a I have had a chaotic feeling because there is not this rule of everyone driving faster should go on the left, and everyone is driving fast on all lanes, and gave me kind of a it kind of scared me. And I want to ask you, how was, first of all, the highway driving experience in Germany, and second of all, how was the limitless highway experience in Germany?
Yeah, so, um, driving on the highway for the first time, I was a little bit nervous. Now it's, like, one of my favorite things whenever I'm driving. Honest, because I thought originally, because 'cause we're always told that there's, like, no speed limit on the highway, and you soon find out that there is speed limits. There's only certain parts where there's no speed limit. Um, and I like those areas. Um, but yeah, I would say the highway compared to the US, it feels most of the time a lot safer, even though you would think, "Oh, well, you have these speed limitless areas," you would think it's more dangerous, but I don't feel that way.
I have to say I haven't. So I'm driving as well a lot, and I have to say I haven't noticed as many accidents on the no speed limit area as I notice on the areas with the speed limit. I think it's just when you drive. 200 kilometers per hour, you the only thing that you do is driving. Like you don't touch your phone, you don't touch your,
Mhm.
I don't know, you don't eat, you don't drink water, you don't do anything. You just stay there and you are focusing, right?
Mhm.
And that makes a huge difference because when you go back and then drive 120, so I think it's 55 miles, 60 miles an hour for the US, it's just like you think, okay, this is not far, this is not fast. um, did you, I don't know how are the rules. I know that there are some of states from the US that are allowed to drive with the driving license from there here, but were your lives allowed to drive with the one from Georgia?
So, um, when I came, I did have to get a specific Germany driver's license, so we took these tests, online, and then we had to go apply for our driver's license, and then I do have, like, a physical copy of
Hmm.
a Germany driver's license before I was able to go drive, by myself, I think.
Okay. The official version is like this.
Mhm.
Yeah. The thing is that I think Texas, as far as I know, has a deal with Germany that the driving license from US is recognized here, so they don't have to exchange it. But I didn't know about the other states.
I'm not sure. I mean, like, we drove because we got a rental car when we first
Yeah,
were
yeah.
here.
At the beginning, you are allowed to drive anyhow.
Yeah, but I do know now that both of us have these, like, Germany driver's license.
Um, if you'd be to recommend this to someone from US, would you recommend to do this step to move in Europe?
To move abroad? Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, I tell people all the time, if you get the chance to just move away from home in general, but especially abroad, do it. Like, even if you only do it for a few months or a year or you end up here forever, I think you just learn so much about the world, you learn so much about yourself. I think everyone should do it if they could do it. I know not everyone can. I'm very fortunate to be able to experience this. But yes, I tell everyone, if you can, do it.
Did your opinion about the US change since you are living in Germany? You already said about the recycling and about the food, but is there something else where you think, okay, always thought this, but now it changed because I was living in Germany?
I would say for me, I kind of already had an idea of the difference between the US and some European countries. So my mindset didn't change a lot. I would say if anything, it got stronger because living here, um, a lot of things are more affordable and just learning the different ways of life, how there's more of a work-life balance here and everything, and yeah, it made my mindset a little bit stronger.
I had received a comment one of the other days, which kind of is connected to what you just said before. Said someone commented and said that everyone is complaining that the stores are not opening or not open during the weekend or Sundays, or there's no commercial thing to do on Sunday, but also everyone is happy about this work-life balance that exists here and is not on that workaholic level from the US. Do you think that it's worth it not to have the Sundays, the stores open, just to have those guys being at home with their families? Like, do you think is the benefit that it's worth to be paid?
100%. I have worked jobs, where I had to work on the weekends, on Sundays, and I wish I could have had the day off to spend with my family or have some alone time or what have you, so I 100% support it.
Peyton, you said you went viral when you posted the reaction video, was that the moment when you realized you wanted to do this, or was another trigger where you said, I want to do content creation on a professional level?
So I would say that I always wanted to do it. Um, Especially when I went into undergrad, like my freshman year, I would always, especially on Instagram at the time, whenever Instagram was way more popular, I would start posting reels, or I thought I wanted to be a fitness influencer, or I thought I wanted to, because I've always loved taking pictures and taking videos and stuff. So there was times where I would try to become a content creator, and then I would get scared and I would stop. Or I did create a TikTok account one time and then I deleted it because I got scared. And so I would say that with that viral video, it kind of legitimized it. And I was like, oh, wait, I can actually do something with this and possibly make a career out of this one day.
So you started or being in the US, or you started like do it on the regular basis when you arrived in Europe?
I started in the US. I would say I was, because this was specifically for TikTok, I would say I started posting on TikTok about a year before I had that viral post where we found out
Hmm.
we were moving to Germany.
Okay. And I'm not an owner of a TikTok account, so it was hard for me to check. So, but I want to ask you, what do you mean by viral? In which range we are talking about of
So
views?
it's, to this day, it's still my most viewed video, but it got 4 million views, and like within, I
Wow.
know it was crazy. And then within 2 or 3 days, I had gained over 10,000 followers, and I was like, "What is happening right now?" I just this I didn't have makeup on, I was in, like, sweatpants. I just thought that this was a video that, like, 20 people were gonna see, and and it went viral.
That's really funny because like everyone is talking about this. Yeah, everyone is getting prepared, building strategies and so on, and you see like a natural reaction has this big of an impact. I saw at least on the YouTube account that you are switching your content towards like sharing your German experience. I love how the way in which you are pronouncing Greve. I still to this day is something which makes me smile every time I see a video.
Some people love it, some people hate it.
It's good for engagement, so it's okay.
It's
Um,
fun.
you switch now the focus on sharing the German experience, right? Um, how is the feedback there? How are people seeing that from someone living from an American living in the US? In Germany, I'm sorry.
Sorry, most of my views are coming from Germany, even though I have, like, a VPN, so my YouTube is technically set to the US, but
Hmm.
most of my views are still coming from Germany.
Okay, interesting. So you get the genuine reaction of someone from Germany based on your experience. How is the reaction there?
So, it's most of it is positive. I did recently have to make my comments a little bit more strict, like, with the YouTube filter, because I was also experiencing a lot of hate comments and a lot of "We don't want you here, go home, you're a stupid American," just very, very hateful comments. So I normally just delete them, but recently I was like, "I'm just gonna make this to where they can't even comment this because I don't wanna see that, and it's just mean."
I experienced so usually my videos are not getting a huge reaction, but I had some videos in the past that had a huge reaction. I have to say I was shocked by the level of hate that people are able to write in those comments. and not towards me, not even towards me back then, but towards my guest. And I always one of the things which I always saying to everyone who's leaving this hate comment, try to think why you are doing that, and try to get a hug from someone, because something is missing in your life. If someone coming from another country to experience your country is frustrating you in that level, you have a big problem that you have to fix. Like that, there is nothing else that can help you fix yourself except you. So and I have to say this, it kind of, I'm happy that I'm able to filter that. I'm happy that I'm able to hide that from the guest, to say it like this, because I don't think that everyone should see something like this. You know what I'm thinking always, Peyton? If that person would ever tell you in your face something that they are writing there, because I never think they would do.
Yeah, it's crazy what people are willing to put online, and I know that Americans get a bad rep whenever they're abroad. I completely acknowledge that, but I always try to be, like, considerate. I try to be, like, not your I'm trying not to be the bad rep, and so I'm very conscious of what I post, what I say, how I do things, but I still get those comments. So, it's you can never please everyone, and that's just life.
Exactly, exactly. So I think, look, there are dark, not dark, dried plants in the forest, in every forest. And I think if you talk about Germans, if you talk about Romanians, if you talk about Americans, we are not all good. We are not all smart. We are not all. Um, we are of all kinds in all the nations, but I think that makes the interesting part, because we have to filter each other and give us the benefit of the doubt, and say, okay, until I know you're bad, I do guess you're good, and then that's the statement that I will make from now on. So, Peyton, to come back to the positive things, uh, for for whomever, for because you're right. You said something before, and you said, okay, I wanted to do this content creation. I was thinking to do this and that. For someone who's thinking to do this, please tell me how how easy it is to post every day.
So, obviously, b
It
you
was a
have
sarcastic question. I know
yeah,
it's not easy.
yeah. Like, I I know influencers and content creators also get a bad rep. I will say to post every day, like, you do have to make a conscious effort. You do have to put in the time and the energy, or else you're like, I specifically carve out time in my day to film content, edit content, create, like, everything like that. It takes effort, and it takes energy, and it's whether or not you're willing to plan it, actually put time into it. It can be easy. I I would say it's easy. It just takes up a lot of time, and I'm always thinking of, "Oh, what should I do this day?" or "What's a content idea I can do?" Like, you're constantly I have notes everywhere of like, "Wait, I just thought of a cool content idea." So, it is what you make it.
Do you organize your days around the producing of content, or you just film whatever is happening in that day and you show it as it is?
I kind of go back and forth, so I try to have a little bit of a content schedule just so I can have an idea, but a lot of times I do end up just filming content around my days. So if I know I'm going out of town that day, then I'm like, okay, this can be an opportunity to vlog for YouTube or TikTok, or if someone recently asked me a question in the comments, I'm like, okay, that's a content idea. I can make a video for that. So I kind of do both.
I think it's important, because, like you said, you need to organize it somehow, and I think it's important to have at least some backup plans, because if nothing interesting is happening that day, you still have to feed the algorithm with something, and I think that's important to have a backup plan. That's why I think it's a good idea. Um, do you feel judged in the things that you do when you post them by the people watching you, or you just no? I will reformulate the questions. because you mentioned the fact that you are thinking exactly what you're saying. You don't want to offend anyone and so on. Do you think you are a different person there that you are in real life?
I would say yes and no. I feel like no one online is fully themselves. Um, it's just the way it is. I do try to be more authentic in my content, and I don't always like create everything to be this perfect aesthetic, or I don't always do that, but I'm never going to be 100% the person I am online when I'm home alone or with my husband.
I have to ask you something. Like for the but this was a personal interest because I was watching a lot of shorts from you. Is there a reason why you are doing most of your videos voiceover?
Yeah, so I originally didn't do that, and recently on TikTok actually I had a few vlogs, which normally my vlogs don't get a lot of engagement, but I one day was like, let me just do a voiceover and see how that does. And it did really well. And I said, okay, well, let me try it again. And then it did pretty well. And I was like, should I start doing voiceovers? And since then it's been pretty successful. So, and it honestly, especially when you're filming in public, if you're kind of shy like me, it makes it better to where you're not having to talk to the camera in public. You can just go home and do that.
Makes it much easier, right?
Yeah.
I've seen the short where you said that I think it was yesterday when you posted and you mentioned the podcast, and I have to say this is kind of made me happy. First of all, second, I have to say you mentioned as well in the story that you are not the story in the shorts, however they are called, that you are nervous about it, and that you are shy usually when you talk in person. And I think this is not something that you see. I think this is something that you, or if you really are, you are hiding it really good now. So I have to tell you, like,
Well, you're doing really well on making me feel fine. So
thank you. I try to keep the discussion, as I said before. I try to keep the discussion on the coffee level, not complicated level. Let's say it like this. Um, Peyton, where is the home? Where is your home today?
like what I would consider home. Um, I would still say it's back in the US. I would I have family in Georgia, and then we have family in North Carolina, so I kind of consider those 2 places home. So, I consider home where most of my family is. That's always gonna be home to me.
Do you think also that is not a place?
Yeah, I think it's wherever my family is, that's where I'm gonna consider home. That's where I'm always gonna, in a some capacity, desire to be.
Yeah, makes sense. I We have this discussion quite often, and there are different opinion, but most of people are saying that home is not a place, are people. Home are the people that are you are surrounding yourself with. Um, do you think that this will be your last abroad experience?
It really depends. I've talked about this a little bit, but we have no 5-year plan. We can't because of my husband's job. So we could be extended here, we could end up in Japan, we could end up in Italy, we could end up in Kentucky. Like, um, so this may be our last time. People ask me all the time in the comments and stuff like, "Why would you wanna move back to the US? Like, what you wanna live abroad?" Uh, we've talked about it extensively, but at the end of the day, kind of what we were just talking about, all of our friends and family are back in the US, and if we ever wanna start a family one day and put down roots, like, we would prefer it to be closer to friends and family.
That makes a lot of sense. We have a discussion usually in the podcast, and we talk about this permanent stranger feeling. Like when you live a period of time abroad, when you go back to your home country, you have the feeling you don't 100% belong there anymore. Have you visited US already since you are living in Germany?
Yeah, I've visited twice now, and it does kind of feel that way because you kind of have a different look on life sometimes, I feel like, when you've lived in so many different places, and in a way, I've talked about this a few times with my friends, it's like you're different people in all these different places you've lived. It's almost like different chapters of your life in a way.
That's an interesting concept because we always talk about this the permanent stranger feeling when you go there, you go back. Those people evolved in a way that you don't know because you are in a different place, and when you go back. But this is a nice idea that you are building a different person when you move abroad, completely different than the one that was there where you were when you grow up. Makes a lot of sense. It's an expat problem which we keep discussing about. We haven't found any solution until now for it. So, uh, um, but I think once you lived once abroad, I think sky is the limit because there is you realize that the whole world is not your village, is not your city, is not anything else that you have at home. Is the world is huge, and you have a lot of things that you can experience in the world, and a lot of people that you can meet, and a lot of connections that you can do, and a lot of social experiences that you can do, and so on. So I think that's the huge thing about living abroad. This is at least my experience until now.
No, I 100% agree. I think living abroad or even just traveling abroad, it's the best way to learn about the world.
Um, I, I have to do a research on this because I keep mentioning this quote and I keep saying it's Mark Twain, but I'm not really sure if it was Mark Twain. But he said that travel is the cure for prejudice.
Mhm.
Um, and I think this is the best way to describe it because when you travel and you realize why there are some people doing some things in a different way than you realize why you had the prejudice about those things that you didn't understood until then. So, um, Peyton, amazing talk. I liked it. We are not done yet, but I we are slowly going to the end. At the end, I have a not at the end, short before the end, I have a small set of rapid fire questions tailored to the guest, and they are never rapid fire. I call them rapid fire. I have to change the name, but they are they are just social question. The question about the social experience. Um, One thing that Germany is doing better than US.
Recycling. That was the first
You
thing.
are really impressed about recycling.
There's tons of things, but that was the first thing that popped in my head.
One thing that the US is doing better than Germany.
Parking lots. I know it's infamous, but I despise the parking lots back home, but it's so much easier to park my car back home.
You also have quite big cars. We should not forget that.
Yeah.
If I think about an F250, a Ford F250, I don't know if I could find one parking space in Germany to fit it in.
I see some people here driving, like, big trucks and SUVs, and I don't know how they do it.
Yeah, always on two parking spaces. Always on two.
Mhm.
Um, Biggest expat struggle that nobody's talking about.
For me, it is I didn't realize how big of an impact it would have on me, kind of what we were talking about earlier, missing home, and a lot of my siblings and friends are going through big milestones in life, and I can't always afford to fly back and experience that with them, and, like, I have a little nephew and then another nephew on the way right now, and I'm missing all of that, and it can really take a toll on you if you're not careful. Like, for the first year here, I really struggled with missing just, like, stuff going on back home because I was so used to being able to get a quick flight home or get in my car and be home within 2 to 5 hours, and can't do that anymore, so I would say that was one of the hardest things for me.
I think anything that we do, we have a kind of a fear of missing out. So I think FOMO is something which was discovered as a term not since long ago, but I think this is something which is always there. Like
Mhm.
everything that you do, you think about something that you could have done.
Yeah.
So I think there is no way to fix that as well. Um, one habit that changed after moving.
One good thing that changed with moving here?
One habit.
Oh, habit that changed. I would say I go on a lot more walks now, um, especially living where I am in the countryside. I pretty much go on a daily walk now, which is not something I did back in the US.
It's kind of hard, I must say. Everything, everywhere where you are in the US, it's kind of hard to have a walk that is longer than, I don't know, 1 kilometer.
Yeah.
um, if you had to move tomorrow, if you and you would be able to decide where would it be?
That's so hard. There's so many places that I like. If it was in the US, I would say somewhere in the Northeast, like maybe, uh, Vermont or Connecticut or something like that. But if it was in Europe, then maybe I haven't been everywhere yet, obviously, but I really love the landscape at least. I know it's really expensive there, but the landscape is so gorgeous. We went to Switzerland and it is it's stunning there, but oh my gosh, it's a bit pricey.
Tiny bit, tiny bit. we are we are driving quite often with my family to Italy, and we are driving through Switzerland,
Mhm.
and even the driving experience through Switzerland is just unbelievable.
We did that recently, and it's probably one of the most stunning road trips I've been on.
Um, I do have a recommendation. I don't know where you are in Germany, but if you are driving, you know there is the big tunnel in Switzerland that you are passing through when you go to Italy. Depending on where you go from and when you go to in Italy, but there is this 17-kilometer tunnel to the mountains, which is every once in a while blocked because two highway lanes are going into one. So if it's a lot of traffic, it's blocked. And in the summer, I was a lot in the summer, and I think last time I was only with my son, and I decided to go out of the queue, and because it was at like a 25 kilometers queue at the entering the tunnel, and I decided to drive over the mountain pass. And Peyton, the first time when I did this was the best decision ever. So it's i- something that you know from the highway when you drive over the mountain, and you really, of course, small streets and so on, so you know the drills, but it's totally worth it. It's an experience. It's an amazing experience.
We'll have to check that out.
Yeah, it's unbelievable. And what about Italy? You haven't said anything about Italy. Was it nice?
Oh, yeah, I love Italy. We For this road trip, we went to Venice, but I've been to, Florence and I think it's pronounced is it Bologna?
Bologna.
Yeah, and, Verona. Florence was my favorite so far. I love Italy. I was hoping that that was actually where we were gonna be moving, just 'cause I love the language, I love the culture, the food, I really like Italy.
I think that everyone is asking me, Romania, what's the biggest benefit of living in Germany? And I always said being close to Italy. So
Yeah.
if If you haven't been to Lago di Garda,
Mhm.
near Verona, Malcesine, Limone del Garda, everything is amazing there in the summer. Everything. I can only recommend it. Thank you very much, Peyton, for this nice talk.
Yeah,
It was a pleasure.
of course.
It was a pleasure to get to know you. It was nice to know. It's really nice to be able to tell your story, and I think it's important to understand that this culture exchange is what makes us better and makes us being understanding with each other. And I think it's important to understand that nobody's coming or going there to hate someone, to do anything mean to anyone. And I think this is something that it's worth saying. We are here just to try to make a living and try to enjoy life, and we don't want to attack anyone.
Yeah.
um, Thank you very much for your time. Much appreciated. Thank you very much for your insights, and I will link all your social media links down in the show notes captions after when I will post the episode. And I hope that the next country where you are, you want to share the experience as well. And you might send me an email afterwards to say, Paul, I'm in Italy. Let me tell you how it's here.
Yeah, thanks so much for inviting me on here. Like, this was my first experience like this, and if I can share my story and spread the word, I'd love it.
Thank you. I wish you an amazing one. I
Yeah.
hope we talk again soon. Thank you, Peyton. Bye.
Bye.